David Miller was 42 years old when he decided his life was over. Not because he was sick. Not because he was old. But because everything he had built had fallen apart at the same time. He lost his job on a Monday. His wife left him on a Wednesday. And by Friday, he was sitting alone in his car outside a hospital, staring at the rain running down the windshield, wondering how a man could lose so much and still be expected to keep breathing. For years, David had believed he was doing everything right. He worked long hours. Paid the bills. Tried to be strong. Tried to be useful. Tried to be the kind of man nobody had to worry about. But somewhere along the way, he stopped living. He stopped laughing. Stopped dreaming. Stopped noticing small beautiful things. He became a machine that woke up, worked, came home tired, and repeated the same empty day again and again. And now even that life was gone. Inside the hospital, his mother was recovering from surgery. That was the only reason he was there. He walked through the automatic doors with tired eyes and a heavy chest. The hallway smelled like medicine and coffee. People rushed past him. Doctors. Nurses. Families. Everyone seemed to be moving towards something. David felt like the only person in the world standing still. He found a quiet corner near the vending machines and sat down. For a long time, he did nothing. Then he noticed an old man mopping the floor. The man looked to be in his 70s. Gray hair. Bent back. Slow hands. But there was something strange about him. He was smiling. Not loudly. Not foolishly. Just a calm, quiet smile. As if life had whispered something to him that David had never heard. The old man looked up. Rough day? David laughed bitterly. Rough life. The old man nodded, as if he understood. Then he kept mopping. After a moment, he said, "That's different." David looked at him. What is? A rough day and a rough life. David sighed. Feels the same to me. The old man stopped mopping. No. A rough day is a chapter. A rough life is the whole book. People make the mistake of judging the entire story by the page they're stuck on. David said nothing. The words annoyed him. Maybe because they were simple. Maybe because they were true. The old man leaned on the mop. What happened? David almost said, nothing. That was his habit. Hide the pain. Swallow the truth. Pretend he was fine. But that night, he was too tired to lie. So he told the old man everything. The job. The divorce. The debt. The fear. The emptiness. The feeling that he had wasted his best years and had nothing left to show for them. The old man listened without interrupting. When David finished, the old man nodded slowly. Then he said, "Good." David stared at him. Good. Yes. Did you hear what I just said? I did. And your answer is good? The old man smiled. Yes. Because now you finally know the old life wasn't working. David felt anger rise in his chest. You think losing everything is good? No, the old man said. But sometimes losing everything is the first honest conversation life has with you. David looked away. The old man continued. You spent years building a life that made you tired, silent, and invisible. Now that life is gone. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm saying maybe something better can begin. David shook his head. I'm 42. The old man laughed softly. And it's too late. The old man looked at him with surprising seriousness. Too late for what? David had no answer. Too late to start again. Too late to be happy. Too late to become someone new. The old man put the mop aside and sat next to him. When I was 58, he said, I lost my business. My house. My savings. My reputation. Everything. David turned to him. What did you do? The old man smiled. For 6 months, I felt sorry for myself. David almost laughed. Then what? Then one morning I woke up and realized something. What? Nobody was coming to save me. The words hit David harder than expected. The old man continued. At first, that thought broke me. Then it freed me. David frowned. How can that free you? Because when you stop waiting for someone to rescue you, you finally begin to move. The old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. It was old, worn, and filled with folded pages. He handed it to David. What is this? A rule. David opened the first page. There were only 5 words written there. 1 step. Every single day. David looked confused. The old man said, That's how you rebuild a life. David turned the pages. Every page had 1 sentence. Call 1 person. Walk 10 minutes. Clean 1 room. Send 1 application. Read 1 page. Save $1. Apologize once. Forgive 1 thing. Try 1 more time. David stared at the notebook. That's it? That's everything. It seems too small. The old man nodded. Broken people always hate small steps. They want a miracle because miracles don't require discipline. David lowered his eyes. The old man's voice softened. But life usually changes quietly. Not in one big moment. In small choices repeated when nobody is watching. That night, David took the notebook home. He didn't feel inspired. He didn't feel strong. He didn't feel ready. But the next morning, he opened the first page and took 1 step. He cleaned his apartment. The next day, he applied for 1 job. The day after that, he walked for 15 minutes. Then he called an old friend. Then he cooked a real meal. Then he stopped drinking alone at night. Then he began waking up earlier. Nothing changed quickly. There was no dramatic miracle. No sudden success. No perfect new life waiting around the corner. Some days were still terrible. Some mornings he still wanted to give up. But every day, he did 1 thing. Just 1. And 1 thing became 2. 2 became a routine. A routine became confidence. Confidence became hope. Months passed. David found a new job. Not his dream job. But a beginning. He repaired his relationship with his mother. He made peace with the end of his marriage. He started running. Started reading. Started smiling again. And one day, almost a year later, he returned to the hospital. He wanted to thank the old man. But nobody knew him. No janitor by that description worked there. No one remembered an old man with gray hair and a worn notebook. David searched the hallways. The waiting rooms. The vending machines. Nothing. The old man was gone. Or maybe he had never been there in the way David thought. As David turned to leave, he noticed something near the chair where they had first spoken. A small piece of paper taped under the seat. He pulled it free. The handwriting was familiar. It said, "When life breaks you, don't ask why it ended. Ask what it is making room for." David stood there for a long time. Then he smiled. Years later, David would tell people that 1 sentence saved his life. But that wasn't completely true. The sentence didn't save him. The old man didn't save him. The notebook didn't save him. What saved David was the decision to take one step when he had no strength left. Because sometimes life does not change when you feel ready. Sometimes life changes when you move anyway. And maybe that is what hope really is. Not believing everything will be easy. But believing that one small step still matters. Even when the road is dark. Even when your heart is tired. Even when you think your story is over. Because the truth is, your life is not finished just because one chapter hurt. You are allowed to begin again. As many times as it takes.